Howard, welcome to the Robert R. Cole's History Room of the Glen Cove Public Library. I'm Lydia Wen, and our other interviewer is Carol Stern. Today is December 15th, 2021. We are here with Howard Stillwagon, interviewing for his Veterans History Project for the Library of Congress. So thank you so much for joining us. We're going to ask you a couple of questions about your early days in Glen Cove. If you can tell us where were you born, when were you born, a little bit about your parents.
Okay. I was born in Copiague, oddball as it might seem. My father was a fisherman, and he dragged my pregnant mother out to the South Shore for a fishing excursion, and she had me. So I wound up being born in Copiague, which is near Babylon, where he always fished. And he's a crab. He got crabs and everything. He was a big fisherman. So I was born there, but lived my whole life in Glen Cove. I was so I was raised in the orchard section of Glen Cove, which was mostly an Italian section from Sturno, Italy. My grandmother's from Sturno, and my father was from New Jersey, the Stillwagon clad, and from the ancestry that I did on my name, it came up mostly England and some German. So I knew I was half Italian and half, that England and German. So and growing up in the orchard was fun. We played behind the Cole School a lot, where we all went to school, and there was a field, a baseball field and football field, and we played stickball with the neighborhood kids, and it was a fun growing up time.
How old were you when you actually came here?
Came
to Glen Cove. You were born in Copiague.
Well, yeah, I probably was a few days.
So they moved right away.
Yeah. It just went, I guess, back then, everybody stayed in the hospital a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I would imagine maybe a week at the most, and I was back in Glen Cove on Hazel Street. Yeah, so I lived across the street from the bar, which had the bocce courts, and all the Italian guys played bocce at night, and I would go and watch them, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah, they were characters. Yeah, so it was a lot of fun growing up there.
Did you have any siblings?
I had
Can you tell us
an
a
older
little
sister.
bit about her?
My sister Patricia. She was 18 months older than me. Okay, but I was my mother's baby. I could do no wrong.
When you entered the service, what were your parents or siblings' feelings about you joining?
Okay, well, after I graduated high school, I went to Nassau. I had hoped to go to a school in Boston, Chamberlain, which is a junior college, but my counselors wanted me to go to try to be a court stenographer, because I was a really good typer. But I didn't have the money, so I was working full-time at Photo Circuits and going to school at night, full-time, but I had to take 2 courses that didn't have credits. So I only had 15 credits, and I was 1A. I didn't have a deferment. So I had to get through the first semester, and that didn't happen. I got drafted in November, okay? So...
What was your draft? Was that when they had the numbers? You got drafted?
No numbers, no, that was just... The draft I went in May of '68 was the biggest draft since World War II. President Johnson was really building up the strength to go to Vietnam. So mostly everybody that got drafted went to Vietnam, and mostly in the infantry. You had to sign up for another year to get like a job, like a clerical or a cook or something like that. I didn't want to sign up for another year. I was hoping that my scores would be good enough to get me into being a clerk, But no, they needed numbers, they needed infantry, so that's what happened to me. But I remember one of the guys I was working with lived in Hicksville, Jimmy Stoneham, I remember, like yesterday. We both went for our physicals at the same time, and so we were at work, and one day, and he said, "Oh, my mother just got a induction letter." So when I went home that day, I said, "Mother, Did I get a letter? And she started crying. So I quit school. My father was really mad at me, but I said, Dad, I'm drafted. I am in. I'm going in. You know, there's
So
no
you didn't
sense-
have you didn't have a choice at that time.
yeah, I was in.
So they took kids out of school. Like
If you didn't have a
it didn't matter,
deferment,
it
right.
didn't, right.
Right. I mean, that's just the way it was. I thought I would squeak by, but you know, I just, like I said, it was the biggest draft, you know, since World War II, and me and Jimmy were in there. So I was scheduled this was like in November, okay, and so the letter said, you know, report to Fort Hamilton, May 8th, all right. So, you know, my family had a nice big going away party for me. You know, we were living on an apartment on Glen Street at that time, but it was a lot of people there, you know, and.
So tell us about who you left behind. Who was in that apartment?
Well, with my mother and father and my sister,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and me, and then that
What-
was it. I mean, I had a lot of cousins and stuff that you know I always hung around with and stuff. So you know, but you know, a lot of friends that were at the party that night. I have a lot of pictures of that party. I didn't take any of them, but it was fun. You know, the party, and then the next day I was on a flight to. Well, I went to Port Hamilton, and we were sworn in.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the Marine Corps guy came in, and they were going to pick about 8 or 10 guys out of the room to go into the Marine Corps. And I was just praying I didn't get called. I did not want to go, because when you go there as a draftee, you're not a real Marine. You know, they look down on you a little bit and ignore you. All the guys that sign up for 3 or 4 years, you know, they're hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I got through that. I didn't get called, so I was happy. That night, they flew us down to Fort Gordon, Georgia, and that's where I did my basic training.
Mm. Can you tell us a little bit about your basic training?
Okay. Well, you know, it was a rude awakening. Now you were on a schedule, a routine, where, you know, you had to get up at like 5:30 in the morning to garbage cans being smashed and stuff, you know, the way get up, get dressed. You had to get, you know, run outside and get into a formation, and then they would whip you through a few exercises and make you run the track a mile. And this is all before you eat breakfast, you know, so. And, you know, and there was like at the chow hall, you know, there was these bars that you had to, you know, swing across, and well, it was a trip. So the food was like not too yummy, but you got used to it, you know, and you just ate it because you know, you didn't have too much of a choice in boot camp. Things got better later on. So anyway, did the 8 weeks down there, and after 2 weeks, it was very hot in Georgia. It was like 95 degrees, and you're out there sweating all day, doing exercises and training. And I got pneumonia because it got cold. It got chilly at night. It got in the 50s, you know, and the barracks were so old. They were like really old. They had coal stoves in them and stuff.
Wow.
So we didn't have the coal stoves lit. It was like almost summer, you know. It was almost the end of May, and I wound up getting pneumonia and going into the hospital for like 7 days, and I missed like a whole week of training. So I was afraid I was going to get recycled and start over again. But I caught up, because most of the stuff I missed was just marching, and you know, that wasn't too hard. It wasn't like shooting a rifle or anything. We had to, you know, qualify. So I caught up, but I was weak. I had lost weight. I was only like 160 pounds back then, you know, tall string bean. And so I was weakened, you know, my lungs were weakened from the pneumonia. So I struggled with some of the things, like the testing at the end, the last week. I had to carry a guy my size, okay? And the guy that was my size was heavy. You know, he was you know, probably 180 pounds, you know. So you got to carry him like this 100 yards. And I made it, but barely, you know. So I passed, and it was waiting for my assignment, praying it wouldn't be infantry, but I'd say 98% of the guys in my class went infantry, and they were all sent to Fort Jackson, South Carolina. The few guys that didn't go either had a brother in Vietnam, or they knew somebody, politicians that were pulling strings with the army and got them jobs in Germany. They went for the jobs I was hoping for, because I did score really high on my test, especially the clerical part. But no, they just were looking for bodies. They were infantry. So I go to Fort Jackson, and it was nice. It was a nice base. It was much more modern than Fort Gordon. We had a brand new building that was like air conditioned and heated, and it was nice. It was like only like 4 of us in a room instead of a big barracks where you would like 30 or 40 guys, and you have no privacy, and you have everything you own is in a little locker, a foot locker, and so I did, went through the infantry training there, and it was very interesting. We fired a lot of weapons, learned to fire pretty much everything. The craziest one was the 50 caliber machine gun. That is a very heavy gun. It's mostly mounted on tanks and airplanes and stuff. But shooting that, it had such a recoil. It was like going like this. I wasn't expecting it. But everything else, I trained very well with. We were using like the M14 rifle in camp, and that was an older rifle, very heavy, but a very good gun. It never jammed, but that's what we trained with, and then a little bit with the M16, and excuse me. So I passed, and everybody passed. There was no way getting around it.
How long did infantry
that
training
was
last?
Another 8 weeks.
Another 8
So this took us like into August or so. Then they got I got, instead of getting orders for Vietnam, they cut, of course I guess I scored so well, they cut me orders to go to NCO school, which is
NCO, what does that
What is
stand
that?
for?
non-commissioned officer school. That you go to the school for another like 12 weeks of training, and you come out E5, a sergeant, 3
So
stripes.
that was a good thing then.
If you wanted it, it was a good thing. I didn't want it.
You didn't want it.
Because I didn't want to have a responsibility of sending someone out like on a patrol and them getting killed, and I would feel guilty. I didn't want it. I didn't want the responsibility.
Did you have a choice to refuse it?
Well, I talked to the officer and said, look, this cut my orders for Vietnam. I really don't want to go through this. It's if you're going through basic training again. It was like, like they were yelling at you, and it was like crazy, and they want to cut your hair off. You just grew your hair back, and now they want to cut it off again, and I was just like, I don't want to go through this basic training kind of thing again, and I just want to go and get it over with, So they said, yeah, okay, no problem. So there was what they call a 0 week, which is before the class starts. So that whole week they had me peeling potatoes and doing all kind of chores, and just waiting to get orders. So then when the class started, they were like, okay, you're in the class. And I was like, but you told me I could get out. And they said, no, you're in. And then I got mad. I felt like, you lied to me. And so I said, I just go AWOL for a couple of days, and they'll throw me out. And that's what I did. They had a formation, and I just went into the barracks, got dressed into my civilian clothes, and walked out the back door and went down a little road and to a highway and hitchhiked a ride to the city there at Columbia, South Carolina, and took a Greyhound bus home. It was a long ride.
Was there any consequences to doing it?
Yeah, a little bit. Like I got home. My parents were in New Jersey for my cousin's wedding. So they were a little upset, and I just told I told my mother, I had a little white lie. I said they wanted me to jump out of airplanes, and I was at a base, that big base I was in down there, Fort Benning, was where the jump school is for the airborne. So I just said, made a little fib and said that they wanted me to go airborne and jump out of airplanes, and I didn't want to do that. So she believed me. It was, you know.
How long did it take for them to find you?
No, they didn't find me. I went back.
You went
you
back.
know, I stayed home like 3 days. My parents, you know, the next day came home, and you know, and then I jumped on the plane and went back, and went back to the company, and you know, then they brought me in with the officer. You know, okay, we're going to give you an Article 15, which is the punishment.
Which was what?
Which was a pay. Like they docked me some pay
Okay.
for a couple of months. It wasn't a lot. They didn't make any money back then. You were making like $100 a month, so they took maybe $10 or something, you know. And then they sent me to a holding area down on the main base by the jump towers. It was a holdover company, just waiting for orders, okay, to go wherever. So I'm down there, and the next thing I know, they giving me a job to go back to the NCO school and be a fireman, which is to keep the coal stoves burning at night so everybody's warm. So and during the day you could do whatever you want. You know, I just had to work all night. There was another guy with me. We kind of split the shift, you know, and you know, it was interesting because I had the whole day to myself. It would be fun. You know, we had a little private room, me and this other guy, and, you know, we'd hear the sergeant come in and start yelling at the guys and making them do push-ups, and we were just laughing at, you know, in that room. But, no, so that I was there for a while, and then I got orders to go to Scout Dog Platoon, okay? And so I talked to some people, and they said, well, you know, you can't bring the dog home, you know, the dog stays. I'm like, well, how could they do that? You're going to get so attached to this dog over a year out there, and you can't take it home, you know. So
Can you go back a minute? What is Scout Dog Platoon? What is
that's
that?
for the dogs that like sniff out the enemy, and
Okay.
like you'll walk point. You'll go first with the dog, and he'll sniff out bombs and
Okay.
and enemy, you know, and you know that's mostly what, because if you're infantry, you're gonna be with the dog in a company, and you're gonna be the guy that goes first all the time, which is the most dangerous thing, because when they ambush you, they wait till maybe 6 or 7 guys go through a certain point, and then they hit you and they cut you off. So the guys, if you don't get shot and walking up front, you're separated from the rest of the company in a firefight now. You know, you don't know what to do, and you don't know who's who, because the jungle. All you're seeing is like flashes, or the muzzle flashes from the rifles and machine guns, and the rockets. You see them, you know, flying by and stuff. So I was like, no, I do not want to do this. You know, so I went down to the school, and I saw the officer. He was a warrant officer, which is different than regular officers. So most of them are helicopter pilots, warrant officers. You know, they have specialties. So I guess this guy was a dog trainer, and that was his specialty. And you know, I said, look, sir, with all due respect, I do not want to do this. And he was like, no, you signed, you got the orders, you're in the class. I said, well, sir, I'm just going to go AWOL again. And he got really angry. You know, I don't blame him, but I would have. I mean, I was getting to the point where now I'm getting forced into doing things and lied to. You know, now I was supposed to be just waiting to get my orders to go to Vietnam, and now they're giving me orders to go to another school. Why didn't you send me to clerical school, which I did good? You know, I could have been a real help to them. But anyway, so he said, all right, get out of here. You're going to be on the next set of orders to Vietnam. I said, well, I know I'm going to Vietnam. I'm infantry. He was not happy with me, but I didn't go. I got out. I was a holdover a little bit more until November 1st of '68. And I came home. They gave us a 30-day leave out of, you know, they give you 30 days before you go to Vietnam, and they give you 5 days travel time, because I had to go to Seattle, Washington to get the flight over to Vietnam. So at my 30 days, we're up in the beginning of December. My mother got sick and had double pneumonia and went into the hospital. And my mom was in poor health, you know, through this whole thing. And like I said, I was her baby. I was her son, her only one. and having, you know, seen my father go through World War II and get shot up and wounded twice, she was fearing for me, you know. So I went to Fort Hamilton, and they gave me an extension for another couple of weeks, so I could be with my mother until she got home out of the hospital. So that was nice. That pushed me to right after New Year's. I had to go like the day after New Year's, '69. I'll always remember that New Year's Eve. I was at the North Country Bar in the Landing here, pretty much by myself, and I remember they were playing "Hey Jude" on the radio because that was the #1 song of the year, and I don't like that song anymore because it kind of reminds me I'm going to Vietnam the next day, you know. So I go, I get on a plane, I fly to Fort Lewis, Washington, and I was there a few days. It rained the whole time. It was very rainy over there in Seattle, and so I got a flight. It was late. It was at night. I remember it was snowing and chilly. You know, the rain had changed to snow, and we took off. And you know, we had to make a few stops on the way. We stopped in Hawaii, you know, for refueling, pick up some guys and drop off some guys, and then next thing I know, we landed at Guam, and I got off the plane. You know, we got off for an hour or so to stretch our legs, and it was so hot. You know, so here I'm coming from snow to like 99 degrees, you know, it's like so hot, and it was like, wow. So then we got back on the plane and flew and landed in Cameron Bay, which was like a really nice area. It was like a resort area, and it was the place where guys would come and go in the country, or they took vacations there, and you know, they had all kind of casinos and stuff. It was a nice place if you had to be stationed there, and you were there. They had the beach where you could surf. You know, it was really nice, and it was secure because they had all the Korean Tiger units up in surrounding the place, and the Viet Cong and the NVA Army did not want to tangle with those guys. Those guys were crazy, the Korean Tiger units. So I Cameron Bay for a little bit, and then got assigned to the 1st Cav. And I flew up to Ankei. They were up in Tukor, up north a little bit. So I landed on Ankei, and there was a little bit of training, jungle training, and then the whole division moved to Tukor. We went down to Benoit. Benoit was a big base, so we were going to be working that whole area up to Cambodia, the Cambodian border, the 1st Cav. So my first assignment, you know, I got assigned to the 1st to the 7th Charlie Company. Okay. Did you want to see a couple of pictures from
Yes.
my basic training at Fort Gordon? So this was the PX.
If you can hold it up
Sure.
to you, and I'm just gonna go a little closer. Okay,
Okay.
yeah, there.
That's the
good.
base, the PX,
Yeah.
where you could buy stuff, you know, relatively cheap. Okay. Did you get it?
Yes, I
Okay,
did.
good. All right. So this is this is me running the track. This is what we had to run. Like every
Where were
morning.
you?
Running the track.
You went, what, this was in?
This is at Fort Gordon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then this is me and a couple of the guys in my company, you know, the training company, and I'm sitting on the garbage can.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There you are. Yeah.
Yeah. So just a couple of guys that I was training with, and this is a picture of me relaxing out in the field near the track. You know, when we were off duty, it was probably a Sunday. This was in June. I guess we were getting close to finishing up. And I'm having a cigarette, and I'm listening to my transistor radio, which I
great.
also took with me to Vietnam.
That's
okay?
great. Yeah.
So
So.
music has always been a big part of my life.
Yes.
And I will learn more as we speak.
Yes. So Howard,
Okay.
can you talk a little bit about the kinds of friendships and camaraderie that we formed
With
during
the
when
guys
you were
like
serving,
I
and
trained
with
with.
whom? Yeah.
Okay, you know, the guys like I showed like in the picture there, they were, you know, their bunks were near mine, and we became friends, you know, and you know, you learned about where they were from and what state and part of the country, and learned a little bit about their families and stuff, and that was it. It was a short 8-week friendship, you know, because after that everybody got I think you got company over there. So
We have Cruiser, Howard's black chocolate
Black
lab.
Lab.
Oh, sorry, Black Lab.
Black service dog.
Service
Black
dog,
Lab
yes.
service dog.
Yes, he's very patient. He's very
nice.
sweet.
Yeah, he's good. He'll just lay under there. So okay, the friendships were short term, but sometimes you know you kept in touch with them a little bit, you know. So mostly in Vietnam with the friendships really strong. Okay, and the training, you know, because it was just like passing by, you know, for a few months and then being on your way. But in Vietnam, like once I was assigned to the second platoon, those like 14 guys in my squad were like my brothers, you know. We took care of ourselves and each other. We would, you know, we would have to, like at night, you know, you would be on guard duty with 3 guys and you would have to do shifts. And you know, you got real tight with the guys because now when you slept, they were watching you, you know. And if they fell asleep and you woke up and caught them sleeping, you could beat the shit out of them. Okay? Because that's scary, you know. You gotta be awake and alert at all times in the jungles. But I made some friendships that I still have to this day. Okay.
You did. You remain friends with the guys.
Excuse me?
You remain friends with the guys today. You
Yeah.
Still
Yeah,
keep in
yeah.
touch,
Well, my friend Henry Godoy, he lives in L.A., California.
Uh-huh.
He's from Mexico. He's Mexican. We were like brothers, you know. And it's still now, we might not talk for 5 years, and if we call each other up, it's like we're back. We're like just the way it was, you know. And I have a friend, Tom Sanders. He lives in Maryland, Baltimore. You know, I helped him a lot with his claims with the VA and stuff. So I'm in touch with him. Those guys mostly, yeah. I'm trying to find a couple of guys that I really want to talk to, but this guy, Jim Fields, this black guy from Jamaica, Queens, like we were really, really good friends. Because, you know, we were New Yorkers, and we both were in the same squad, and we both carried that grenade launcher. It was like a shotgun. I have a picture of me and him. So, but I lost. You know, he's not at his address in Jamaica. I don't know. I've tried to do searches like on Facebook, and I just, you know, can't find him. You know, and my other friend Gary from California, Gary Orwald. I would love to just talk to him again. You know, I'd love to just. And Jim, like towards the end when I was in the base and I got kidney stones in the middle of the night, he carried me to the aid station. You know, and I owe him for that. I can't find him. But
So what did you do for recreation with these guys when you were on duty? Like what did you do?
In the jungles, there was no recreation. It was if you had a quiet day, that was recreation. You know, if you were on patrols and search and destroy missions, there was no recreation. When you were in a base camp, like a big base camp, then you could unwind, and everybody unwound. Believe me. So I will get to those stories a little bit more down the road, but. You know, the guys, you know, there was a lot of drinking and a lot of drugs, okay? And, you know, the California guys, that I was tight with, they like to smoke weed. And, yeah, but not in the jungles. No way. No, only in the base camps. You know, I was a nervous wreck out there, and I didn't need anything to make things worse. I had to keep my head together, you know, alert at all times. But
Can you tell us, do you go out to the jungle for a duration and then go back to the base?
Yeah. What happens is they'll usually send us like on a search and destroy mission or search and find, like looking for caches and stuff. So they'll send us out for a week or two, and they'll send helicopters to supply us with water and food and ammo, and then we go back into the base like they would send us to like LZs, they call them. They're like little bases out in the jungle. They have like artillery, and they have like a medical station there, and there's bunkers. They have bunkers where the guys like it's perimeter or the barbed wire. You have to you have to defend the place because the enemy knows where you are, and they'll sneak up on you at night. They'll shoot rockets and mortars in on the bases, so you were never safe. Even if you had a cook job, or a medic or something, a field doctor, you still had to be on that base, and you were liable for rockets and mortars, and so you were at risk even in the bases,
So
even big bases too.
So I see you wrote that you were injured by a rocket bust and suffered traumatic brain injury. What happened?
Okay, so we were on the Cambodian border. It was a very hot area. Okay, we were finding big caches of rice and weapons, and it was getting scary. I remember, we found this cache. They had like a kitchen set up, and it was still warm. They had just left because they heard us coming, but I remember being nervous because they did booby trap stuff, and we're finding all this stuff, and they're like, piling it up, and then we destroyed it. We blew it up. We put C4 and just blow the whole thing up, which pissed Charlie, that's what we called it, the Viet Cong, and the NVA Army, the regular army, North Vietnamese regular army, the NVA. Those guys were good. They were good soldiers, and they knew everything that was going on because they had cities underground. They had massive tunnel complexes that we didn't even know about. I mean, we would find some tunnels. I was too big to be a tunnel rat to go in. You had to be a little short guy, and that was scary stuff. But we were in that cache area, and I remember I heard a gunshot, and one of my friends got shot in the arm. And then from that point on, it was like really scary. Okay, so going back just to the first base I was in before we moved. This is Phuc Ven. This is the rubber tree plantation, the Goodyear tire, the rubber tree plantation they had, and this was called Phuc Ven, and they had a big base there which we were protecting. We were working around the base. All right, we were on guard duty like for the big base, and this was pretty easy duty because there was no heavy action going on there at this point in time in February and the beginning of March of '69. So in the daytime, like the Vietnamese girls and kids would come out on their scooters to where we were, and sell us cokes and beer and pot if you wanted it, whatever whatever they had, they would try to make money, So the American money was like very rare, and if you had it, it was worth a lot more than the play money, the monopoly money that they gave us over there. They called MPCs, but they used to bring ice, and it was like so hot. So if you get a piece of ice and roll a Coke can on there and get it cold, it was a treat. And like sometimes they bring food, and my friend, I never ate it because they had a lot of fish and stuff in there, and I was like, nah, I'm not eating that, But it was like nice duty, It wasn't scary at that point, but that was going to change. So now we're over by the Cambodian border, and so when the helicopter comes in, it drops off the supplies, whatever they requisite, how many sea rations and how much water we need and how much ammo. So when the helicopter comes in, they're throwing that stuff out, because they don't want to be on the ground. They're a target. So usually it's like, and they take off. So it's a little scary. So we were working. They moved us from Phuc Ven to outside of Tay Ninh, and it was, I remember taking the picture of the helicopters when they took off with one of the other platoons, you know, and we were still waiting to get picked up.
So you were with the same guys all through the years? The same?
Yeah, the whole time you were with the same guys, unless they went home or got shot and or killed. You know, you were with these same guys.
So how many years were you in the platoon for?
Just the 1 year in '69, or the '69. The whole time I was in with the same guys. You know, the time I was in the jungle, I was with Second Platoon, Second Squad, and you know, you knew these guys inside out. You know, so you know, like we would get care packages from home. You know, and like my parents sent me care packages. They'd send me 3 of them. So, and the thing was, like if you opened a box or a bag of cookies, you had to eat them all, because if you put them in your backpack the next day, it was full of ants. Yeah. So you would share everything. But, you know, they would send me like Chef Boyardee, raviolis, which were like a big treat compared to sea rations, you know. So I always had, you know, and they would send me film for my camera and, you know, batteries for my radio and stuff. They'd send me, you know, cigarettes and I smoked it. That everybody smoked. One thing or another, but yeah. So so you know that camaraderie, you know, because when they got it, they shared with you too, you know. So
how did you communicate with your family at this time?
Letters. Like we didn't have to pay postage or anything. So when we wrote a letter, we just wrote "free" in the corner where the stamp would go, and it had an APO address, you know, San Francisco APO. And you know, whenever the helicopter came in, they would. You know, if you had mail, they'd throw it in a sack and put it on the helicopter. And, you know, it took a week or so to get home. But I always wrote, you know, because I didn't want my mother to worry. And I never told her what was going on. I would tell my father and my sister a little bit in the letters, but not everything, you know, because it got heavy.
It seemed like whenever you went out, it was really intense situations.
Yeah.
Did you do anything for good luck?
I carried my father's World War II prayer book in my helmet liner. So your helmet's got the steel pot and then like a plastic kind of liner that goes in. Then you take the metal part off and you could wash up in it. You could make hot water in it and stuff. But I kept my father's prayer book in between the liner, you know, and wrapped up a little bit so it wouldn't get wet. So that was my good luck charm. Yeah.
Do you still have it?
My nephew has it. He's in the Army. He's a medic. He's been in 17 years now. He's got a bunch of Purple Hearts. He's got the prayer book. He wanted to give it back to me a couple of years ago, and I said, Stephen, no, you're going to give that back to me when you're finished.
Yeah.
So. All right, so I'll get it back. He's stateside now. You know, he had a traumatic brain injury, so he doesn't go back in any more combat.
He had traumatic brain injury.
Yeah. His Jeep, those Humvee things, those big Jeep things, got hit with one of those bombs, those IPC bombs, or it got hit, and they all got hurt really bad. Maybe one of them was killed, but he saved 2 of the guys from bleeding out because they have this stuff now that clots the blood, and you know he saved 2 guys from bleeding out in that battle and that explosion. And then, but he also got hurt, you know. But he's okay. I talk to him on Facebook messages all the time. He's moving to Fort from Kentucky, Fort Campbell in Kentucky. Now he's going back to North Carolina. Okay, there's his wife, and he's got 3 daughters now, beautiful girls. He married a Mexican lady. She's beautiful. So he's got my good luck charm prayer book, and it's going to get him through his service time.
So how did you get your traumatic brain? What happened to you?
Okay, so we were okay. We did a combat assault, okay? And we were going into a pretty bad area. There's a lot of intelligence. It was going to be really hot. So I took a picture. I'm sitting next to the door gunner. That's a machine gun, like right in the bottom of the picture. It's a .60 caliber machine gun. The helicopter has a machine gun on each side. They call it a door gunner. So I'm sitting right next to him, you know. So when you're coming in, you got like 6 helicopters coming in the line, okay, to land. And like I said, when they touch ground, out, and then they take off. So we touch down. Now we're coming down, and you have 2 Cobra gunships on each side of the helicopters coming in, laying down like all kind of fire. They have the minigun. They have a grenade launcher thing that shoots like little hand grenades, like a machine gun though. This thing shoots about this. This was my grenade launcher. It was like a shotgun. Okay, it shot like a hand grenade round, you know, and then I carried a 45 caliber pistol also. You see it, and that big sack is full of ammunition for the grenade launcher. So so we're coming in. And like I said, the Cobras are like raising hell on each side. So you don't know if it's friendly fire or the Cobras. So we hit down, jumped out, and I looked behind me, and the helicopter crashed.
Oh
Oh,
wow.
no.
It crashed. It came in on an angle, and the back propeller hit a rice paddy dike, and it flipped over. But, you know, I just whipped my camera out and took a picture. I didn't know what was going on, but it was scary because we didn't know if it got shot down but everybody there's some injuries, but nobody got killed. So, but there was a lot of activity going on. A lot of helicopters came flying around and protecting that helicopter so we can get the crew out and on the chopper. So I knew this was going to be bad. So we got word one night that our Echo company, they were on a big hilltop, and well, here's another picture of when the helicopters pick you up. This is what it's like when they're coming in. You see how they're coming in, like, and we're all just waiting for it. Yeah, so it's really fast. They come down, we hop in, and they take off. So that was always like crazy. So we get word that our company, our E company, our Echo company, I was in Charlie company, is on a big hilltop, and they're being overrun by a large force. So we got, so my platoon was on like a ambush, like by ourselves. There was like just 15 of us out there, away from the main company. They always set up like a little perimeter. So we're out there, and all the shit's going on with Echo company, which is like maybe a mile away from us, and so now they're coming real close to us, and we're in like a gully, you know, in my platoon, and they're walking like right next to us,
Oh my
and
goodness.
we could hear them talking and we're shitting a brick because we're away from our company now. If we engage, now there's only 14, 15 of us, you know, and where do you run? It's pitch dark. You don't even know where the company is
Do you
exactly.
understand the language they were talking? You didn't, nothing.
A couple of words,
Yeah.
you know, a couple of words that you pick up, like with the girls that used to come out, like la day, chuhoy, you know, a couple of simple words, you know, nothing that the NBA Army's going to want to be happy to hear, you know. So, thank God they didn't see us, you know, and we went back. They were shooting mortar rounds into the company. From we could see them, you know. You hear the tube pop. You got like 30 seconds when you hear that pop, doom, doom, you know, the mortar coming up. So we're seeing them, the bombs blowing up right by the company, and so we waited till daybreak, and then we walked back to the company. A couple of guys got hurt. So then we moved to the Hill 54, to relieve Echo Company, which was overrun. This was a big battle. 11 guys got killed up there on that hill. So we relieved them, and now we're on this gigantic hilltop. Now this is one of the bunkers on the hill. You can see how high up we are.
Right.
You
may
had
wanna
to
lift
walk
up just
that,
slightly higher, yeah,
to walk
right.
up to that camp, that little LZ on top of the hill, was really hard, carrying, you know, full backpack. You know, it was really difficult, and you were like a target walking up there, up that hill. So we got up there, and Echo Company, they got relieved. They went back to the main base, and we were up there for like a week, maybe 5 days a week, and it was scary because every night they probed us. You know, they played games with us to keep us awake all night. You know, and you know, you're just sitting there waiting for them to come up and attack us and try and overrun us again. You know, so it didn't happen, but it was really scary. You know, so from there we left, and we were moving into some more. We were moving to towards an LZ called Phyllis, okay, and let me see. So we had set up for the night on our way there, and I took some pictures. All right, it was very dark and dreary there. But
what type of camera was this?
Instamatic.
Instamatic.
Kodak
I was going to
Instamatic.
say that it
Right.
looked like
Yeah.
a Kodak
It's
Instamatic film.
Yeah,
You have a lot of
Well,
notes written on the back.
a lot of notes.
Did
'Cause
you do that as
I would
soon
do
as
that
you?
for my mother. I would
Oh,
send
okay.
it. You know, she would develop the film for me and send it back to me, and then I would write what it was all about. Like this is the 90 millimeter recordless rifle. It's a Canon. And it's really heavy.
Yeah.
So you know, it was great, but it's more for like shooting a tank, you know. But the guys that in the weapons company that carried that and the mortar round, like we had to carry all the ammo for it, you know, like these big tubes that were really heavy. But that was our job. So we set up camp, and so I pitched we used our ponchos to make it was raining, so we used our ponchos to make a little tent. This is he was one of the medics in my platoon. So this is like on our way towards LZ Phyllis, and so we I also took this picture. Now this is Jim, the guy from Jamaica, Queens, Jim Fields. I love Jim Fields. I will always love him. He was a good guy. Like I said, he carried me to the aid station when I had kidney stones and I couldn't walk. So he was a great guy.
Are there
I
any
wish I could
pictures of
find him.
you in there? Because you
Yeah.
always seem to be behind the camera.
I know. There's a couple coming up.
Okay.
All right. There's a few here. Yeah. All right. I had so many pictures I didn't know what to take, you know. But
No, these are great.
this is Gary Orwell, the other guy I'm trying that from California that I would love to find, and even Henry, who lives in L.A., can't find them.
This is
So,
the second platoon.
yeah, he's
Okay,
second
part of
platoon.
second
Yeah,
platoon.
yeah. So now,
Does the Army help in any way to
Yeah.
reconnect?
not really. I don't know. I really haven't tried.
there a database?
You know, they maybe they have something. You know, I don't know. I don't know. But all right. So they sent us for a 3-day R&R to the big base in Quan Loy, which I spent a lot of time after I got hurt. But this was May 10th, 1969. Quan Loy R&R. The gang, 1st to the 7th Cav. Now, 2 guys in that picture got killed a week later. The guy,
Are you in here?
I'm in here. I'm on the far left. The guy on the far right, the blonde guy, in the back. His name was David. His last name, I can't think. But he was from Texas. So this LZ Phyllis now. So now we're on LZ Phyllis. We're on protection there. We're on the base for support, and we're all hanging out. And they found a big cache of weapons outside the base. So they, for some unknown reason, an officer told them to bring the stuff inside the base. And I remember seeing this little thing. They called it a mule. It was just like a little flatbed with 4 wheels and a little steering wheel, and they carried stuff. Like they had a trailer.
Like a dolly?
Yeah, it had like a trailer on the back of it hooked up, and they had all these weapons piled up in it, and on the mule too. And I saw it, and I was like, nah, I seen that shit, you know. So it pulls in, and it exploded.
Wow.
And I was walking towards my bunker on the perimeter, and when it exploded, and I didn't know what the hell happened, but shit was flying from the inside of the base, like over my head. So I ran to my bunker and jumped in there until finally calmed down, and that's when David got killed, because he was close to that dolly.
Oh.
And I made friends with his sister on Facebook,
Mm.
and I sent her that picture so she could show her mother. This was like a couple of days before he got killed. He got killed a week later,
Mm.
and
That's
you know,
hard.
so.
So was that when you hurt your knee, or what happened
No,
to you?
no, we didn't get to that. Yeah, we're getting there.
Okay.
So, all right, so we leave Phyllis. They got out of there because we were getting attacked every night. I mean,
Okay.
I read the reports. They were somebody got them on what was going on there that week, and it was like in May, end of May, when David got killed, and I remember they attacked us, and I was in the bunker with my friend Henry and my friend Tom from Maryland. Like we were right next to it, shooting out of this little like slit in the bunker. And I remember I'm firing. I have an M16 now. The grenade launcher jammed on me in the firefight, and I got rid of it. Because the pistol is not going to do it in a fight. So I remember Tom was like right next to me, and all of a sudden I saw his hand fly back, and I was like, "This got shot like right here." It took a big chunk of his thumb off, his wrist out, and so that he got sent home and went home with that injury. Yeah, but yeah, and you know, and like it was so scary. They were mortaring us every night. You would hear that mortar tube popping, and I was in the bunker sleeping. All right, trying, you know, because they're a little safe. If the mortar hits the bunker, you got a chance. It might, you know, cave in, but there's a lot of sandbags on top of it, you know. And I'm in the bunker because it's scary. You don't want to be outside unless you're on guard duty. All of a sudden, I wake up and there's a rat on my chest, and I'm talking about a big rat, like a cat.
Oh my
They were
gosh.
gigantic over there, the big water rats. And he was just like a pet. He was on my chest, and I just swatted him off. And I said, F this, I'm going to sleep outside. I'll deal with the mortars. You know, I took a big piece of like that roofing stuff, or irrigated metal sheets, like, and I just put two of them up around by me in case a mortar did land. It would deflect the shrapnel, you know. So I slept outside. It was too scary. Now I got a rat living in, you know, there was a lot of rats.
Wow.
A lot of rats in the bunkers over there. Because, you know, you would eat food in there, and then there was always be some kind of crumb or something they'd come in to get. So anyway, living conditions were not that great. So after this disaster, a lot of guys got killed, and a lot of guys got killed. And they said, okay, we're clearing the base out. You know, they took all the artillery, the helicopters came, and like we had to wait there until they got everybody out, you know, the cannons and all the inside guys, and we were the last ones out. So we go into the thick jungle, and I took this picture right before the ambush. Okay, this is right by the Cambodian border. We're in very heavy jungle. You can't even see. It's like almost nighttime. This is the middle of the day. It was dark and dreary and scary.
And who is this in the picture?
That's me.
Oh, that's you.
That's me.
Okay.
Yeah. I had another great picture. I didn't take it. It's like me in the swamp. Oh, I don't know why I didn't take that one. I didn't see it.
Wow.
It's on the disc.
Howard, how did your combat and wartime experience change you as a person?
It has, like I said, I don't sleep good. I've been a nervous wreck ever since I came home. You know, when I came home, you know, my mother died like 100 days later. You know, and that I was very close with her, and just to, you know, to come home and then on Thanksgiving Day, '69, the 26th of November, and then in the middle of December, she got diagnosed with ovarian cancer. Okay, so this was March now. All right, so 100 days, and they did surgery, and the doctor said it looks good. You know, I think we caught it early, but and the phone rang at like 1 in the morning, and my father flew out the door, and that was it. Came home crying. You know, Mom was gone.
What
She
year
had
was
shot
this? What year was this?
embolism.
What year was it?
That was March 5th of 1970.
Okay.
Okay, it's 100 days exactly that I came home. So So that really, really hurt me. That really hurt me. I was bad when I came home. Now I'm a basket case, and I'm dating a girl I went to high school with, and and she dumped me shortly thereafter because I guess I was tough. It was tough. I was going through some heavy changes. I came home pretty much. My father said, there's a picture of me at the airport with my sister, and when I put it up on the Vietnam page on Facebook, I got a lot of comments saying, look at his eyes, you could see he saw a lot, so it was hard. It was a hard time in my life. And so, the girl dumped me, which crushed me. And so then my father was impossible to live with after losing my mom, because he was, my father wasn't like me. He didn't cook or clean or anything. My mother did everything, and he was lost without her. And he started picking on me and my sister, and fighting with us. And so eventually we both moved out. I went to live with my uncle up in the Orchard, back in the house I grew up in. My uncle was a bachelor. And he was like my second father. He was good to me, and I was comfortable living there with him. And I found another girl, and that didn't work out. So, I desperately want some love, So I met my wife in February of '71. All right, now she's a senior in high school. I'm 5 years older than her. But I have a new car, Dodge Charger. I bought in Vietnam. It's hot. It's a chick magnet. And I put this blue film on the lights, and there was like blue lights in it when you open the doors, and it was like really cool. I had a cool 8-track stereo, great sound. And I was into like having a good time. I was still smoking a lot of weed, and everybody was at that time, and we'd go cruising, drinking the Leafer Milch wine, and we hit it off. And she graduated. I went to her senior prom, and then she went to nursing school, and I put Vietnam in a jar and put a cap on it. I never thought about it until 2009, when Obama said, but when I found out I had diabetes, I knew that was Agent Orange related. So I was going to put a claim in, and then I was going to put a claim in for the post-traumatic stress, which was now shell shock, which my father said I was when I came home. I went to put a claim in. I went to Whitehall Street in Manhattan to the VA, put a claim in, and they rejected me immediately. They did this test on my kidneys, an IBP X-ray, which came back negative. I passed the stone in Vietnam. They pulled them out of me, but I have a history of them now, so I get them every 5-10 years. I always get a stone. I wind up in a lot of pain, but when they rejected me, I said, "F them. I'm not going to put up with this." But my father said, "No, don't give up, don't give up." And I did. And but I put in 2009, and that's when I had to see a psychiatrist again. And I saw a psychiatrist at the end of my tour. Now, let me tell you what happened. Okay, I got hurt in the fire, and we got ambushed. Remember, I told you about the heavy jungle. We were like, we had no food and water left. We had, and they couldn't land the helicopter, so we had to blow up about 6 big trees to make an opening for the helicopter just to come in, throw supplies out, and get the hell out of there, because it was a real dangerous area. Because the NVA was mad. We were finding a lot of their stuff and blowing it up, and they were pissed off. They wanted some payback, and so we blow up these trees. We get a hot meal, and it's nice. Once in a while they bring a hot meal out there, and so we got a hot meal, got supplies, ammo, backpacks were full. So we're like, okay, we're gonna move out. Now it was either the 1st or the 3rd platoon that walked point. All right, we were not point. I'm sitting there with my friends, backpack. Now, when you got a full backpack, you can't just stand up. You got to roll over onto your knees and push yourself up, because it was about 80 pounds on your back. So sitting there with strapped up, my backpack, ready to go. Whatever platoon walked out, within 3 minutes, all hell broke loose, and it was on. They ambushed us good. We were surrounded, and they surrounded us because they knew where we were. We were blowing up trees. They surrounded us. The NVA Army was a big force that surrounded us. And those poor guys that went out first, like 6 of them got killed, and the rest of them got pretty much shot up.
So everybody got injured.
Yeah, right. They went first, so like I said, they wait till a few guys go, and then they open up, and they cut. Those guys get stranded out there until we could, suppress the fire, and they go away eventually. Because when we start calling in support, we're getting artillery, we're getting the helicopters, we're getting the jets dropping 500-pound bombs. So they take off. They fight a little while. The Viet Cong ran right away, but the NVA Army, they would hang around and fight, and this time they were hanging around. They went into the night, and so once the shit started, I released my backpack, and I grabbed my M16, and I spin around, and I'm seeing the muzzle flashes to the rear of me. So I start shooting. And then one of the guys from Texas, Cecil, he says, "Howie, don't shoot. Our guys might be there. We don't know where they are." So I'm like, "Okay, I'm not going to shoot my guys. What's going on?" When this happens, it's
very chaotic.
It's crazy, So I remember across from where we blew up, all right, the other side of the opening. There was some NVA guys there, and they were shooting. There was a sniper, and he shot one of the guys, like 2 guys down from me. He got shot. And then a B-40 rocket came flying across and just went over our heads. So I said to my friend Henry, I said, "I'm getting behind this tree." One of the trees was like right in front of us. So I dove behind the tree. The next thing I know, I was knocked out. The rocket hit the tree. I don't know where it hit the tree. It hit the tree near me, but I didn't get the shrapnel goes up. Okay, I got the concussion from the explosion, and I remember Henry told me, he said, "Man, we just saw you flying through the air."
Oh, wow.
And so when I hit the ground, I was like dazed. Now my glasses are gone, my helmet's gone, my rifle's gone, and I got shit in my eyes, from the explosion. I can't see hardly. I'm really a mess, and my ears are ringing.
Wow.
And I can't hear good. So I'm just like laying, and I hear the medic calling for me to help him. So first of all, I'm carrying 200 rounds of machine gun ammo. It's like, So I had to crawl over to the machine gun and give the guys my ammo. They needed it. Then the medic was calling for help. So I crawled over to him, and he's treating this guy from Texas. I don't remember. He was in the weapons platoon. I didn't really know him that well, but I just knew his name. I think it was John or something. But anyway, he's shot badly. The medic's like, lift him up. So I pick him up. The medic was trying to put a compression bandage on him, but meanwhile he's shot right here, and blood is just pumping out, and he's shot on the hand too. Like I remember a big chunk of his hand was shot off. And I'm just picking him up, and the guy starts like yelling at me and cursing at me. "You're fucking hurting me. You're hurting me. I said, "I'm only trying to help you," And the next thing I knew, the medic laid him down, and I passed out. I went into shock. I was just, the whole thing was just like too much for me. I woke up, and it was getting towards dark. And like I said, I don't have anything. And then my friend Henry, he's like my blood brother, love Henry. He's like, "Stay with me. I'm gonna protect you until we can get you to go back in. You're fucked up, So I'm sorry about the language. Anyway, but so I'm with Henry, and now the fighting has calmed down a little bit, and they want to send a listening post out. The listening post is like you and maybe one other guy or 2 other guys, and you're going out maybe 100 yards from the rest of the company, and you're listening to hear if anybody's creeping up on you.
Oh my goodness.
And then you'll hightail back with a password to yell. But it's scary. But I couldn't do that. I had nothing. And they wanted me to go out there, and Henry yelled at the sergeant and said, this guy's going back to the base. He's got to go see a doctor. He messed up. I fractured my kneecap, too, in that little flight through the air. But so that was the end of my time in the jungles.
Boy, I could see how this is very trying on a person. You know, it really takes a toll.
Yeah, it gets even more fun. Talking about trying. Okay, so I go on my R&R to the Philippines, and my parents are trying to get me out of the Army on a compassionate thing with my mother being so sick and worrying, putting her in an early grave, kind of. So they had gotten letters from a lot of politicians, this stuff, to try and get me at least out of Vietnam anyway, or out of the jungles at least, So I had to get into the base to get these letters that I had in storage, couldn't be carrying them with me out in the jungles. I didn't have everything. They just sent me more stuff when I went up to the Philippines, and I had enough stuff for the to put the case in. So I come back to Philippines, and I go up to headquarters. I talked to this guy I knew up there in headquarters, and I said, I'm putting this for extra discharge. He goes, okay. I'll put the paperwork in. He goes, you don't go in the jungles now. You're supposed to be in the base until this case is decided, until they have like a court hearings on it. And I said, okay. So like the next day, they call formation, and my lieutenant, his name was Robert E. Lee, okay? Didn't like Yankees. And I had a big NY on my helmet with a peace sign. Didn't like that. So he didn't think too highly of me. And he ordered me to go back to the unit. And I said, well, sir, I have a discharge case put in. He didn't want to hear it.
Aren't you injured at this point? You said
I was injured, yeah, but they still felt I was good enough to go back out.
Even with a broken kneecap?
It was a fractured kneecap.
That's
It hurt, yeah, but I mean, they didn't have the facilities where on that base to determine what was wrong with my knee or my brain. How bad I was. So they just see you acting normally, and they, he's good. He's cleared to go back to the base. The medics, and the medic tent there, and so all right. So now I've disobeyed a direct order, and he gave me 2 or 3 direct orders to go, and I refused them. And so now I'm just sitting in the big base in Quan Loy, and it's like September, and I have to go to January 6th, I think was my day to get out of the Army. So I'm doing, like I said, what they used to do. They'd call formation every day, and you go out, and there'll be a sergeant there, a lifer, and it was a big black guy, and he got great joy breaking my chops and telling me every morning at Stillwagon, burn shit from the outhouse. They did. They burned it with diesel fuel. It was pretty gross. But, I was like the whipping boy now, because I disobeyed an order. So now I'm pulling guard duty at night on the perimeter, which is scary because this is a big base in a bad area. And it's always getting, rockets and mortars coming in. And so I'm pulling guard duty, burning crap, and I'm just waiting to get court-martialed now, One day, this lieutenant colonel comes and drags me to the airstrip, the helicopter pad, and orders me to get on the helicopter. I didn't even have a full pack or anything. I had a rifle, but I didn't have anything. And I said, sir, I have a hardship discharge case, and I'm supposed to be on the base. I'm not going. And he got really mad. You get on that effing hopper right now. And he pulls out his gun, his 45, and he said, I'll shoot you right in the head right now. I said, go ahead, sir. Put me out of my misery. I did. I told him. I said, just kill me right now. I'm not going. At this point now, I'm really having a nervous breakdown, on top of everything. So he goes, get back to the company area. You're going to LBJ, and then you're going to Fort Leavenworth Prison in Kansas. LBJ was Long Bend Jail in Vietnam. It was a big jail in Long Bend. So now we go back to the base, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get court-martialed. I'll plead my case, to the court, And so now I'm waiting, and weeks go by, and every night the guys come in, and we're partying in my tent. We're smoking weed, we're drinking beers. I would go buy a case of beer at the PX. The guys that were coming in from the field with injuries and stuff, and we would have fun. We'd play cards, and I had a little cassette player, and I hooked it up to a battery. And my cousins sent me a whole bunch of cassette tapes, like the Doors, the Cream, Jimi Hendrix, and a couple of, like 10 tapes. We would listen to them every night. Iron Butterfly, we listened to these things every night because we didn't have radios or anything, TVs. This was entertainment. So we had a lot of fun, And I was passing the time. They gave me a job. All of a sudden now they call me the headquarters and they give me a job on. My job was to ride around in this big truck with a big tank of diesel fuel and spray the whole perimeter of the barbed wire, so it would kill all the vegetation. And the enemy couldn't creep up behind the weeds and stuff. So that was my job, and it was fine. I said, okay, now I got a couple of months to go. I'll do this and go home. I'm walking with two guys. We're walking, and this Jeep rides by, and we're smoking a joint. And they stop, and this black lieutenant comes out, and he's like, points to me and goes, "I saw you throw that joint." And I was like, "I didn't throw it." And he's like, "Yes, I saw you do it." And now I'm in jail. They bring me in. They throw me in this little jail of the base, And then the next day, I go, and they're like, Now they're all pissed off at me now. They're still mad at me about disobeying orders. And now this, and now they're like, okay, we're going to discharge you with a 212 undesirable discharge, which you have no benefits. I was just like.
After all this.
Yeah. So I said, I want to see a psychiatrist. And they go, you have to see a psychiatrist anyway. It's a process. I said, thank you. So I go to another base, and I see this psychiatrist, and he was a very nice man. I told him the whole story I just told you guys, and he said, "You know what? I'm going to change this. I'm going to change it to a 212 under honorable conditions." And he said, "It's not. It's just you fall into the can't adjust to military life kind of situation, And he changed it, and I went home. I went home a little bit early, but then I got the kidney stones, and I was in the hospital. But then I went home shortly thereafter. And this is a picture of my company rear area in Quan Loy. This is October of '69, and I'm holding a short timer stick. A short timer stick is for the guys that, when you're getting close to going home, they carry it around, and we pass it on to the next guy. So I carried it till I went home, and then I gave it to the next guy. And you can see all the puddle. It rained like crazy. You see all the mud and rain, and it was like, it was wet and
Did you get that
sloppy.
relief?
Yeah.
So Howard, you talked a little bit about what it was like for your family when you came home, and how your mom passed 100 days after you came home. What was the community like?
Well, there really was no response from the community at that particular time. It was just like no one cared. It really was no pats on the back. I mean, I have other Vietnam friends that were members of the VFW, and my friend Joey, who was there with me at the same time, and he was in D Company. I was in C Company, and I ran into him a couple of times on the base because we were right next to one another, our barracks. He told me when he joined the VFW, the guys looked down on him, and they said that wasn't a real war. They didn't recognize it as a war. And he had a Purple Heart, and I didn't get a Purple Heart because I didn't get shot. I was injured, in the explosion, but not doesn't warrant a Purple Heart. You have to be shot or killed to get the Purple Heart. So well, my father got 2 of them because he got hit with shrapnel from a big 88 cannon when Normandy, D-Day. The next day, he got hit. He went to jump in the foxhole with all these other guys were in. They were in the hedgerows in France, and there was no room for him. They pushed him out,
Oh
and
my
then
goodness.
the cannon shot and hit right by the other side of the hole, and all the guys that were in the hole got killed from the concussion. Their brains blew out of their ears because they were below the ground, kind of, you know. I had a tree in front of me that deflected a lot of that, you know, that sound wave, like, you know, that gets you, you know. I got some of it, but, you know, I might have hit a tree too with my head. I don't even know, you know, like everything was a daze. But then my dad woke up like 4 weeks later in England, you know, and then he got better, and they sent him back. And he was in Germany, and he got shot. But a ricochet bullet hit something and ricocheted and hit him in the leg. So he got 2 Purple Hearts in his leg. Yeah.
So what was
So-
your life? I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say, so knowing that your friend had this kind of response at the VFW, did you join any veterans organizations?
No. At that point, like I said, I put, like after the VA rejected me, I was like anti everything with the Army, the government. I just put it behind me. Once I found Mary, I was in love, and I didn't want to talk about it anymore. And, you know, I would talk a little bit with my cousins and stuff about things that happened over there and stuff, you know, jokingly. There's probably more good stuff than bad, but I put it away until '09, and that's when I had to see a psychiatrist again. It's a process when you put a claim in. And, you know, I had to open it up, and it was really hard. You know, it all came back, you know, and so. But they only gave me like 25% or 30% post-traumatic stress, and they gave me the diabetes. So I was like 40%. I was 50, but 40. They grade you funny. I can't explain
So when
the
you
way they
came
grade.
back, were you able to work? I mean,
Yeah, I
you
went
got-
back to work at Photo Circuits, my old job, and they had to take me back. And they were laying people off, you know, because they had lost a lot of the government. Because when I went, before I went, we were making bomb fuses for the military and stuff. It's, you know, security work that I couldn't even go into the developing room. I would get the panels ready and send them into the clean room, but you had to have a security to go in there. It was real top secret stuff. But they lost all those jobs. So when I came back, I didn't go back to photo printing where I was. They sent me to this thing called the IRT tunnel, which was just a big giant tunnel, a heating tunnel, where this Russian guy would send the panels through. He'd coat them and send them through, and I'd catch them and put them in a rack. It was like a job that I hated, and it stunk to smell the chemical. And the machine was always breaking. The Russian guy was like, "Oh, go have coffee, go get lost." I just couldn't take the job anymore. I was really not happy. So my mother said, "Take the post office test in January of '70." And I said, "Okay." I took the test in Hempstead. I got an 85, and then I got 5 points more for the veterans thing, and I got a 90, which put me high on the list. So they had the strike in April of '70. They went on strike at the post office, and they got so far behind on the mail that they had to hire a bunch of, like 3 or 4 guys, and they hired me. I walked in. The postmaster, at that point, was a political job, and the postmaster used to be a mortician in Glen Cove. His name was John Sweeney, but he got the job through politics being postmaster. So I went in, and he interviewed me, and I told him I just came back from Vietnam and infantry and this and that. He was a Navy guy, and he hired me. He liked me.
So that's what you did.
And I was a mailman. Yeah,
Good for you.
for 36 years, from 1970 to '06.
Where was your route?
My route was the Medical Plaza, the shopping center,
Uh-huh.
Bryce Avenue, and then that whole section behind the high school, that on Walnut Road,
Yeah.
the hitching post, Sugar Maple, all that. That was my mail route. I drove. It was a nice route. I was, listening to music and driving in my truck with the mail in there. It was cool.
So I have another question. Your dog. So it's a service dog.
Yeah.
What constituted you to have the service
Okay.
dog?
So, I'd seen people with the dogs at the VA and stuff through all this process with my claims, and I talked to them, and they said, well, if you're 100%, you could put in for them. They said you're gonna have to wait a few years, but you'll probably get it, especially if you have a post-traumatic stress thing, which I have 70% now. I kept appealing the decisions on that post-traumatic stress because I felt it was more than 25-30% they were giving me. So they got sick of my appeals, and they sent me to see a private doctor in Comac.
Mm-hmm.
Two times. I went for the mental, then I went for all the other stuff, the kidney stones, tinnitus, and all this other stuff, the pneumonia. I claimed everything. I was getting payback now. It's payback time. They played with my head and really screwed, really beat me up. Now I'm on the offense. I'm rejecting every decision. So they send me to see the psychiatrist in Comac. He's a nice young man. Told him the whole story, and he was like, "Whoa." All that mental abuse stuff, he did not like that. The burning crap and the guard duty and the physical embarrassments that they were doing to me. And I had my life on the line for six months in the jungles. I did my share, and I got hurt, and then I had my mother dying. I was a lot of stress on me. And so he said, "I'm changing this," and he changed it to 70%, and that was a big jump because now I'm 40, now I'm 80%. So now I appealed a bunch of other things, and I got, I had the pneumonia in boot camp, and I had a history of respiratory problems. I put a claim in. I put the tinnitus. I got that 10%. My knee, I got that up to 30. The kidney stones, I had like 5 reoccurrences. I got that up to 25%. So now I'm 95%, and I put in for the pneumonia thing, and they took it and they gave me 10%, and that got me over 100. So that made me eligible for the dog. Okay, you have to be 100% with a high post-traumatic stress. So I put in a claim, okay, for the dog. I put in an application, and they said, okay, someone's going to call you, some psychologist guy or something, and he's going to talk to you. Now, previously, I've talked to one of the girls at the office, and they said, oh, you're a lock for a dog, okay? Don't tell me that, okay? And then reject me. So I have this phone call with this guy, and it's like an hour long, and I'm getting confused, okay, with some of the questions, So at the end of the phone call, he evaluates me, and he goes, okay, you do qualify for a dog, but, because of your age, you should consider, giving them to the younger veterans. And that kind of got me mad, I was like, now, this lady tells me I'm a lock for a dog. You're telling me to pass and not get the dog, but I feel like the dog's going to help me because I don't sleep at night,
So what does the dog do?
He sleeps with me. He's right next to me.
So does it make you go to sleep?
I haven't had a bad dream since I've had him. He's a comfort. He's always with me. He'll go everywhere I go, in the house. If I get up and go into the kitchen and get a glass of water, he comes with me. He's dedicated to me, So anyway, like I said, I get the rejection letter. Now, all right, I call up. I said, I'm appealing. They said, okay, you appeal. We'll answer within 30 days. Okay. 90 days go by. I get no answer. Hello, Tom Swazi's wife. Message her on Facebook. Can you have Tom look into this? Why they did not, address my appeal? It's like 3 months.
Can you tell us who Tom Swazi is?
He's the governor.
Not yet.
He's a congressman. All right, I'm
Right,
sorry,
for
jumped the gun.
For someone
Sorry,
listening,
yeah,
for
it's a
someone
slip.
listening to our project, I just want to clarify who Tom is.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry.
sorry.
Yeah. Hopefully he'll be the governor, but he's a nice guy. I've known him a long time. He's a good guy. So anyway, his attaché person contacted the school, right, Cruiser? And next thing I know, they call me and they come to Comac. We want to talk to you. So I go there and I see the head person out there, lady. Walked through the whole school. It was amazing. I mean, jeez, there was so many dogs in the kennel and the hospital, and it was like a little college. You know, they had a big dorm with all the rooms for the students, because normally the class is like 18 people. You know, and so we sit outside, and I'm telling her the story about things that have happened to me and why I think the dog will help me. And she just said to me, "Are you ready for this?" He said, "He's going to always be looking for you. He's going to be attached to you." I said, "I'm ready. I love the dogs. I've had 3 labs at that point. I've had 3 labs. I love the dogs. I don't have grandchildren. It's important to me." You know. She said, "Okay." And the next thing I know, she said, "You're going to be on a 2-year waiting list." I said, "It doesn't bother me." You know, so.
So this was 3 years ago.
No.
Because you said the dog's 3.
He's 3, but he was 1 when I
So it was 2
applied.
years ago.
Yeah. I applied. So it was a year in October. So 2 years. So it'd be 2 years last October, that I applied. Okay. And then I would have waited till 20. I would have been eligible October of 20, but because of the pandemic, the school was not taking any out-of-state people, and they called me a year early. So I went a year early. I went last October, like this past a year ago, this past October. And the end of the month, I came home on November 1st, like I said, and that was that. You know, and he's been a big help to me. He's a great comfort for me. And I mean, him and my young one, they're best buddies. They run around and play. When he's home, he's a dog. You know, when I put his vest on, he's working. You see, he has sort of peep. He'll just lay there until I get up, and then he'll get up and
I know, they go
come
through
with me.
rigorous training. I mean, I did it. It's a whole year of rigorous training. Yeah.
And he was trained in the prison system in Massachusetts at the Bridgewater, Massachusetts prison, because the family that trained him on the weekends, they work in the prison. You know, she works in the prison, so she's a runner, so she ran marathons to raise money, because it costs $25,000 to train this dog, and so she ran a lot of races and raised the money for him and his 2 brothers to go to the school in Comac and be given to families. So when I was in the school, like the last day, they put me on a conference call. What do you call it, with the computer?
Zoom?
Zoom, yeah, Zoom call with 2 families that raised him. And then when he wasn't in the prison on the weekends, he would be with the families, you know, and they had like 3 children, 3 young girls, and they would take him everywhere. I mean, I have pictures of him when he was a little baby with the little training vest on.
Oh, that's
so
great.
Cute. Yeah. So, and they love him. You know, so we're friends on Facebook. So I always send them pictures of him. You know, like his last birthday last year, I had a little cupcake with a 2 on there, and I sent them the pictures. They love it. Yeah, they love it. So they trained them, like took them to the shopping malls
that's what I did everywhere.
And walks in the park to be, you know, socialize with people and train them how to sit and shake hands and stuff. You know, so it's been a real joy having him. You know, he's helping.
It sounds like every step of the way you've had to overcome and be tenacious.
It's been a battle.
Battle for
a lot of battles.
Getting out of Vietnam.
So this last photo, now that little sign my parents had in the window of our apartment on Glen Street.
What does it say?
It
It
says
says
serving in
serving in
Vietnam.
Vietnam.
Yeah. So I thought my
Wow.
cousin took that picture of me, and so.
So-
You've been through a lot and you've
Yeah.
survived it pretty well.
Yeah. It was hard. Yeah, it was hard. And I saw, like in my company, a lot of guys got killed.
Yeah.
Like a company is about 170 to 180 men, okay? And they're broken into 4 platoons and command post and the weapons and out of the 170, we lost about 35 guys that were killed when I was there. 6 months. 6 months in the
Wow.
jungle. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I mean, I didn't know a lot of these guys, but you know, when you see a body bag, you know, like we got mortared and 2 guys got killed, you know, and their bodies is laying there in a bag, you know, it's kind of like, and this was like, and I was only there 2 months, so I was like, I'm never going to get out of here, you know, so it was.
Well, thank you for your service.
Oh.
And I know when I was growing up, the Vietnam War was like not a place to go.
Yeah.
So Howard, what message, would you like to share with somebody in the future when they're viewing this interview?
When the what?
What message would you like to share with the future generation?
Oh.
Someone who's looking at the interview.
I would just
What
say,
message?
I was very proud to have served my country. It was just that there was some conflicts with, certain people, like Lieutenant Lee didn't like me, and he caused me a lot of heartaches there. Could have been avoided. They didn't have to do that to me. The Army law said, I was supposed to be in the base. They just didn't care. They made their own rules up. But, I battled and I fought, and I would say just always never give up, and fight hard for your rights, and you'll do okay, like I did.
Howard, thank you so much. It's been an
It's
honor
been a joy.
to spend this time with you and to learn about
I don't
your
mind talking about it. I
experiences.
get a little emotional here and there.
Oh my God, this was so interesting.
I mean, one of my problems with the post-traumatic stress is I get really emotional. Like I could just watch something on TV, and I'll start crying.
Well, Howard, I don't have post-emotional stress, and I get like that too. So.
I don't know if it's like the getting older part, but I get really emotional now.
It's good to show your emotions.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Even I just talked to my wife, and I tell her something about and then I'm like tears. She kind of understands, but I'm glad you like the pictures. Yeah.
Okay.
Pictures, the interview, thank you.
Okay. Well, I'm happy. I'm glad it went well. Yeah.
We'll give you a copy for your family. And
Oh, cool. All right. Yeah, I'm sure my daughters think they've heard a lot of the stories, but they always enjoy it.
but
Oh, I
it's always
took
nice to have.
I took pictures of the pillowcases. I should have brought them. I was going to bring them, but
Are you gonna
I'm actually going to
end it?
Yeah.